What's up, everybody? Big Cop Diesel coming back at you, and I'm coming at you with another video in my series on PA 330. Disclaimer, I went through PA 330 2 years ago. There may have been some changes to the curriculum. If there have been, I don't know, so that's my disclaimer. So go to the website, check it out, see if anything's changed. I'm not aware of any changes, but I'm also out of the loop since I'm not working in that capacity anymore. Okay, so we're going to talk about week 3, and this is the final week of PA 330. So this is going to be kind of where a catch-all, because in the first week the legal part took up a majority of the time, and in the second week PPCT took up a majority of the time of that week, sprinkled in with some report writing and stuff. So the third week is what I like to call kind of a catch-all. So the biggest thing you're going to do, not the most time consuming, but the biggest thing you're going to do in the third week is your first aid CPR and all that. So when I went through, we got BLS certified, which is basic life support certified, which is a step above your average CPR, first aid, AED. And what takes this up a step above is they train you in how to apply and use tourniquets. Now, depending on where you work at, they may see the need for that or not. You'll get that training in PA 330 no matter what. But when you get back to your job site or your agency, you know, they may say, hey, you cannot carry an IFAC, which is a individual first aid kit on you, or a tourniquet. I mean, I still don't understand why they call it an IFAC. It's simply a tourniquet, but whatever. So when I went through the training where I worked at, we were expected to carry and use IFACs if there was an issue, if there was a gunshot wound or something. Now remember, this is downtown Detroit, so anything could happen, right? So fast forward to the company that I work for now, we only had to get first aid CPR, not the BLS. So therefore, we're not required to act. We're not required to use a tourniquet. In fact, we're not even allowed to carry a tourniquet. Doesn't make sense to me. The contracts that I'm working now are, they're federal contracts, I'll just say it. I'm not going to tell you who I'm working for right now, but it's domestic security. I'm a domestic security contractor. So I feel that the chances of something happening at one of the sites I work at now are a lot higher than they were at GM World headquarters. But for whatever reason, it just goes to show you the difference in philosophy. But anyways, you're going to get a BLS certification, which is good for 2 years. My certification is actually going to be up next month, but I'm just going to pay out of my pocket and get it renewed. I'd rather have the additional credentials, because one of the other jobs I contract for, I may use it, I may not, but I'd rather have the credentials, and it'll cost $60 or whatever, and it's nothing, so I'm going to do it. And the other job that I contract for, I'm normally in a hospital. I sit on prisoners, and I won't need it because I'm surrounded by healthcare professionals. But anyway, I digress. So third week, you're going to go over narcotics and drugs. They're just going to give you, a brief overview. Some guy that used to be an undercover cop somewhere is going to come in and talk about it. You're going to talk about radio etiquette, radio communications, which is important. Nothing irks me more than to be working somewhere and hear somebody being a dumbass on the radio. If it's a closed net where it's just you and your people, that's one thing. But I've worked on a lot of job sites where the police are monitoring our radio communications, and so the last thing you want is to be embarrassed because somebody doesn't know how to talk on the radio, right? It's a whole thing whether we get along with the police, how they whether they view us whether they view us as professionals or not, but that's a whole nother argument. They're going to kind of talk about witness interviewing, but again, they're going to just touch on this. There's not going to be you're not going to be doing a whole lot of interviewing of anybody for anything. You know, if somebody gets hurt on your site, you're going to get their name, their address, their phone number, person that you can call, you know, to let them know that you've been hurt. It's going to be very rudimentary, and I'll bust it out. But I have a notebook that's already set up for taking police reports, so that you will remember it's all right there. You just fill in the blank. And then some of the stuff will be relevant, some won't. If there's a box that talks about a traffic accident, well, if you're not talking to this person about a traffic accident, then it's irrelevant. But at least it's in there, so it will remind you, get their driver's license number, their date of birth, you know, the suspect, if they were assaulted, the description, you know, that kind of stuff. But any real witness interviewing, you're not going to get that deep. You're going to get just the basic information, and you're going to pass that along to law enforcement if they've been called. They talk about crime scene investigation. I'm going to tell you right now, if there's a crime scene at your job site, the only thing you're going to do, and the only thing you should do, is cordon that area off and do your best not to let anybody go there. That's it. You're not going to go in and take pictures and put stuff in baggage. You're not doing any of that. If somebody is killed in a room in your office building, you're going to fucking close that door, and you're not going to let anybody in and out of there until the police show up. So that's going to be the extent of your crime scene investigation. They talk about crime prevention and risk management, and there'll be like a police officer that comes in they're in charge of like community policing and stuff like that. So they'll kind of give you an overview of what it is they do. There will be firearms familiarization. You're going to have a firearms instructor like myself is going to come in and talk about, these are the parts of a pistol. These are the parts of the rifle. You're going to talk about it. You're not touching any firearms as far as part of that course. You're not going to qualify or any of that kind of stuff. They're leaving that up to your agency to do all that. Nonviolent crisis intervention. This is a good one. So, you know, one of the things that you got to be aware of and try to get good at is de-escalation techniques. You know, when people are having some kind of a mental breakdown or whatever, the situation they're dealing with is real to them, even if it's not real to you. But you have to empathize with them and try to basically talk them off the ledge so that you don't have to use force. And that's what we're about, right? We're there to use force if we have to, but we don't want to. I carry all kinds of stuff on my belt, up to and including a firearm. I don't ever want to have to shoot anybody. I will if I have to. I don't want to have to take anybody down, and I've had to do it a lot, but it's always the last resort. So if I can talk to somebody and get them to calm down and not do anything, that's a win. Okay, so you'll go over that. I mentioned first aid. You'll talk about bloodborne pathogens. You know the drill with bloodborne pathogens. If it's warm and it's wet and it ain't yours, don't touch it. Plain and simple. Emergency preparedness, you're going to talk a little bit about that. You're going to have to do the fire extinguisher thing. You're going to have to sit there and learn the difference between fire extinguishers that put out A, B, and C fires, and then which ones put out E fires, and you'll have to spray. They'll set something on fire, you'll have to spray it. And you're going to go over cultural diversity, which is a no-brainer. People come from different walks, different countries, different religions, the whole nine. You just got to respect it and understand that that's kind of the world we live in now, and just be cognizant of that. And then you're going to take your first aid CPR written and practical exam. And that's pretty much it for week 3. In my next video, I'll kind of go over the things that are in the nitty-gritty of all these last couple of videos I did. Until next time, guys, stay safe.